He walks with a swagger, speaks with conviction, and cloaks himself in the trappings of power. But beneath the polished surface, there's a tremor, a fault line waiting to crack. Niccolò Machiavelli, the master of human nature, didn't fear the bold tyrant or the cunning fox. He feared the weak man masquerading as strong, for his fragility is a silent poison, seeping into every bond, every ambition, every empire. In a world shaped by the ruthless currents of history, spotting weakness is not just wisdom, it's survival. Here, in the shadow of Machiavelli's brutal truths, we begin our journey to unmask the weak man. The first sign? He clings to the illusion of control while shirking the weight of true responsibility. The illusion of control, Machiavelli wrote. It is better to be bold than timid, for fortune is a woman who favors the daring. Yet the weak man doesn't dare. He postures. He projects. He builds a fragile fortress of appearances, believing that looking powerful is the same as being powerful. You'll see him in every corner of history and every corner of life. Kings who rule by spectacle, generals who falter when the trumpet's faded, men who mistake noise for influence. He's the one who boasts of plans never executed, who promises victories never won, who wears the armor of a warrior but trembles at the thought of battle. This man craves control, not over empires or destinies, but over how others perceive him. His energy is poured into crafting an image, the perfect job title, the flawless social media feed, the loudest voice in the room. But watch closely. His control is a mirage. When chaos strikes, when life demands real decisions, real action, he hesitates. He deflects. He disappears. Why? Because true control requires sacrifice, discipline, and the courage to face uncertainty head-on. The weak man, though, is allergic to uncertainty. He'd rather polish his mask than forge his will. History is littered with such men. Consider King Louis XII of France, whom Machiavelli studied closely. Louis seized Milan with bold promises and grand gestures, only to lose it through indecision and reliance on fleeting alliances. He looked the part of conqueror, but lacked the spine to hold his gains. His weakness wasn't his army or his wealth. It was his refusal to embrace the grinding, unglamorous work of maintaining power. The weak man today is no different. He'll launch a business with fanfare, but abandon it when the numbers don't add up. He'll vow loyalty and love, but crumble when trust demands effort. His life is a series of half-built castles, abandoned at the first sign of rain. The fear beneath the facade. What drives this illusion? Fear, not the fear of death or ruin, but something more insidious, the fear of being seen as less. The weak man is haunted by the mirror of truth. He knows his foundation is shaky, so he overcompensates with bravado. He'll tell you about his grand plans before they've even begun, seeking applause to drown out his doubts. He'll surround himself with yes men, not because they're wise, but because they won't challenge his fragile ego. Machiavelli warned, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. The weak man banks on this. He thrives in the shallow waters of perception, where a loud voice and a sharp suit can pass for strength. But perception is a brittle shield. When pressure mounts, when a rival questions his authority, when a crisis demands clarity, when solitude strips away the audience, the weak man falters. His control is external, not internal. He depends on the crowd's approval, the partner's reassurance, the world's validation. Without it, he's adrift. You'll notice this in small moments. The way he bristles at criticism, the way he shifts blame when plans go awry, the way he clings to routine to avoid the unknown. These are not the quirks of a leader. They are the cracks of a man who cannot stand alone. The historical echo. Look back through history, and the weak man's shadow looms large. Roman senators who traded principle for popularity, Renaissance courtiers who flattered their way to ruin, modern leaders who tweet their way to irrelevance, all share this flaw. They chase the illusion of control while dodging the labor of true power. Machiavelli's Florence was a crucible for such lessons. The city's endless power struggles taught him that those who prioritize image over substance are the first to fall. The Medici, for all their flaws, understood this. They built their dynasty not on loud proclamations, but on calculated moves, quiet alliances, and a willingness to endure discomfort for dominance. The weak man, by contrast, seeks dominance without discomfort. He wants a crown but not the weight, the cost of weakness. Why does this matter? Because the weak man's illusion of control doesn't just harm him, it harms everyone around him. His untested confidence breeds chaos. His promises, unbacked by action, erode trust. His need for validation drains those who prop him up. In relationships, he demands constant reassurance, turning love into labor. In work, he takes credit for others' efforts, undermining teams. In history, he's a figurehead who collapses under scrutiny, leaving others to clean up the wreckage. Machiavelli knew this truth. Weakness is contagious. Surround yourself with those who chase illusions, and you'll find your own ambition shrinking, your own resolve softening. A call to vigilance. So how do you spot this first sign? Observe. Does he talk more than he acts? Does he crave admiration more than achievement? Does he flinch when the path gets hard? If so, you're not looking at a man in control. You're looking at a performer, a pretender, a liability in waiting. Machiavelli's brutal truth is this. True strength is forged in the quiet, in the choices no one sees, in the willingness to embrace the hard path over the easy applause. The weak man, though, will always choose the spotlight over the struggle. And in that choice, he reveals himself. Stay sharp. The world is full of masks. Learn to see through them. He wears his heart like a banner, waving it for all to see. Every slight stings him. Every praise lifts him. Every moment shapes him. He calls it passion, authenticity, humanity. But Niccolò Machiavelli, the piercing eye of history, saw it for what it truly is, a leash. The second sign of a weak man is his inability to master his emotions. In the grand theater of human struggle, where empires rise and fall on the strength of disciplined minds, the emotionally undisciplined man is not just a liability. He's a puppet, dancing to the whims of circumstance. History warns us, those who cannot govern themselves will always be governed by others. The chains of impulse. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But there's a deeper truth. Look at how a man handles his own heart. The weak man is a slave to his feelings. His anger erupts like a summer storm, brief but destructive. His fears spill out in nervous chatter or defensive boasts. His joys depend on external applause, fleeting and fickle. He doesn't lead his emotions. They lead him. You'll see it in the way he snaps at a minor critique, sulks when ignored, or seeks sympathy when challenged. His inner world is a stage, and every emotion demands an audience. This lack of restraint is not a modern flaw. It's ancient. Consider Emperor Nero, Rome's infamous showman. His reign was a spectacle of unchecked passion, lavish performances masking paranoia, rage, and insecurity. When criticized, he didn't reflect. He lashed out, executing rivals and allies alike. When adored, he basked, neglecting the empire's cracks. His emotions ruled him, and Rome burned for it. The weak man today mirrors Nero's folly, albeit on a smaller stage. He posts his frustrations online, airing grudges to strangers. He argues to win egos, not minds. He seeks comfort over clarity, crumbling when life demands a steady hand. The vulnerability of exposure. Why is this dangerous? Because an emotionally exposed man is predictable, and predictability is a death sentence in Machiavelli's world. Whoever can trigger you owns you, the strategist might say. The weak man's emotions are a map to his weaknesses. Provoke his pride, and he'll overreact. Question his worth, and he'll spiral. Offer him praise, and he'll bend. His heart is an open book, and history shows that open books are easily rewritten. In Renaissance Florence, Machiavelli watched men like Piero Soderini, the well-meaning but feeble leader of the Republic, undone by his inability to control his fears. When faced with threats, Soderini wavered, seeking consensus over action. His emotional transparency invited manipulation, and Florence fell to stronger hands. You'll spot this in everyday life. The weak man can't hide his irritation when plans go awry. He broadcasts his insecurities in casual rants or overeager defenses. In relationships, he clings too tightly, fearing abandonment. In work, he takes feedback personally, stalling progress. His emotions are not tools, they're tyrants. Contrast this with the Machiavellian ideal. The fox, cunning and restrained, who feels deeply but acts deliberately. The lion, fierce but composed, who roars only when it serves him. The strong man knows that emotions are power, but only when harnessed. Unchecked, they are chains. The historical lesson. History is a graveyard of men undone by their passions. The fall of Carthage, the collapse of dynasties, the betrayal of alliances, all trace back to leaders who let emotion cloud strategy. Hannibal, for all his genius, was consumed by vengeance, driving his campaign beyond reason and into ruin. In contrast, men like Augustus Caesar thrived because they mastered their inner storms. Augustus felt rage, grief, ambition, but he channeled them into calculated moves, building an empire that endured. The weak man, though, builds nothing lasting. His outbursts erode trust. His neediness repels respect. His volatility invites chaos. The ripple effect, the danger of the emotionally undisciplined man, extends beyond himself. He poisons those around him. In groups, his mood swings disrupt harmony, forcing others to tiptoe around his fragility. In leadership, his impulsiveness breeds uncertainty, undermining those who rely on him. In love, his desperation suffocates, turning connection into control. Machiavelli understood that power demands stability, not just in action, but in spirit. A man who cannot govern his heart cannot govern others. He becomes a pawn, easily swayed by flattery, fear, or fury. And in a world of wolves, pawns are devoured, a call to discernment. So how do you recognize this sign? Watch. Does he explode when challenged, or does he pause? Does he seek pity when criticized, or does he reflect? Does his face betray every feeling, or does he wield his emotions with purpose? The weak man is a storm without a compass, tossing himself and those around him into chaos. Machiavelli's brutal truth cuts deep. Strength is not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. The man who leaks his emotions like a broken dam is not a leader. He's a liability, waiting to be exploited. Look closely. The heart reveals more than words ever will. He shines in the spotlight, draped in the trappings of success. His words echo with confidence. His presence demands attention. His life seems a monument to triumph. But look closer. The sheen is borrowed, the foundation hollow. Niccolò Machiavelli, the unrelenting observer of human nature, knew this man well. The one who builds his worth on the applause of others, not the strength within. The third sign of a weak man is his obsession with validation over respect. In the grand tapestry of history, where true power is forged in silence and strategy, this man is a fleeting shadow, loud, visible, but destined to fade. His weakness is not in his ambition, but in where he seeks its reward. The hunger for approval. Machiavelli wrote, "It is far better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." The weak man, though, craves love above all, not the deep bond of loyalty, but the shallow rush of approval. He doesn't build to last. He performs to be seen. His identity is a mirror, reflecting what others want, what trends demand, what the crowd applauds. You'll recognize him by his need to be noticed. The endless posts, the exaggerated stories, the relentless chase for likes, claps, or compliments. He's not after respect, which endures through conflict and time. He's after validation, which vanishes the moment the audience turns away. This flaw is ancient. History groans under the weight of men who chase glory without substance. Think of Alcibiades, the charismatic Athenian who dazzled with charm and rhetoric but betrayed his city for fleeting fame. His brilliance was undeniable, but his need for adoration led him to shift allegiances, chasing applause from Athens to Sparta to Persia. He shone brightly, but his light was borrowed, and when the cheers faded, so did he. Today's weak man is no different. He buys the car he can't afford to impress strangers. He mimics the style of men he admires but never understands. He speaks to be heard, not to be right. His life is a performance, not a legacy. The fragility of a hollow core. Why does this matter? Because a man who lives for validation is a house built on sand. The moment the winds of criticism blow, he crumbles. A single slight can unravel him. A lack of likes can haunt him. A moment of anonymity can break him. His self-worth is outsourced, tied to the whims of others. Machiavelli saw this as a fatal flaw. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are, he warned. The weak man leans into appearances, but appearances are brittle. When life tests him, when a rival challenges his status, when a partner questions his worth, when solitude strips away the crowd, he has nothing to stand on. You'll see this in his actions. He avoids hard truths to keep the peace, flatters the powerful to feel included, and shifts his opinions to match the room. He's not strategic, he's desperate. In relationships, he clings to approval, suffocating those he claims to love. In work, he chases promotions through charm, not competence, leaving chaos when his mask slips. In history, men like him, courtiers, pretenders, populists, rise quickly and fall faster. They lack the core that true power demands, a sense of self that doesn't bend to crowd's applause or crumble under its silence. The historical verdict. History judges such men harshly. The Roman Senate, filled with sycophants who thrived on Caesar's favor, collapsed when power shifted. The Renaissance courts, glittering with flatterers, bred betrayal as men swapped loyalty for clout. Machiavelli's Florence was a battlefield of such weaknesses, where men like the Medici's rivals rose on charisma but fell to their own fragility. True leaders like Lorenzo de' Medici understood that respect, not popularity, builds empires. They endured criticism, made unpopular choices, and stood firm when the crowd turned. The weak man, though, cannot stand alone. His glory is least, and the debt always comes due. The cost and the cure. The weak man's hunger for validation doesn't just harm him, it erodes those around him. His neediness drains energy. His insecurity breeds doubt. His reliance on praise weakens trust. Surround yourself with such men, and your own resolve will falter. You'll start chasing their metrics of success, likes, followers, fleeting cheers, instead of building something enduring. But there's a way out. Machiavelli's truth is clear. Power lies in self-mastery, not external applause. Respect is earned through action, not affirmation. The strong man walks through criticism unshaken, builds in silence, and lets his results speak. He doesn't need the world to clap. He knows his worth. The final call. So watch for this sign. Does he chase praise over principle? Does he bend to the crowd's whims or stand firm in his own truth? Does he live for the spotlight or for the long game? The weak man is a performer, not a builder, a mirror, not a rock. Machiavelli's brutal truth cuts to the bone. True strength is quiet, deliberate, unyielding. It doesn't need an audience to exist. It doesn't crumble when the cheers stop. It endures. Unmask the weak man. See through his borrowed glory. And choose to surround yourself with those who seek respect, not validation. Lions who roar with purpose, not puppets dancing for applause. Subscribe if you're ready to cut through the noise and lead with the clarity of a Machiavellian mind. The world is watching. Make sure you're not performing for it.